in that I detect a sort of, you boomers have got a few things to ask for, and I agree with you. I've got to be really careful here because I know many of my listeners will say, come on, John, we've worked hard all our lives, stop this business.
You have.
Saying it's our fault.
Yeah.
My line is quite different. I'm not after that. I'm not, I believe in prosperity. I believe in people having a go and building a lifestyle. That's not the problem. I'm a mid-baby boomer. I'll tell you where I am highly critical of my own generation in two broad areas. The first is the one you touched on, debt. I was part of a reforming government. We got rid of debt. We left money in the bank. That's the best youth policy you can have to avoid intergenerational theft. I'm staggered at what has happened in England. I don't know whether young Brits realise what a bomb they're being left. Your tax rates are higher than they've ever been. They're climbing higher than ever. Your unfunded liabilities like pensions going forward are off the charts. And here's my criticism of boomers. We had our hands on the levers of power when we should have been doing good policy. So that's not your average voter who didn't have their levers on, although it's reflected in the way they voted. It's the fact that after the great financial crisis, the reality is that instead of doing what we did, I know I'm sounding, positive about the government I was part of, and paying down the debt and ending the intergenerational theft, they went for soft options. They went looking for inflation deliberately rather than paying down debt, rather than imposing tough decisions on people. And that drove up equity prices and land prices, part of the reason why young people are having it tough. The other reason I'm down on my generation is we let the idiocy get away at our universities. It was our fault. Why were we not pushing back? Go to America, the greatest generation. They're all gone now. But if you go back to when I was about your age in the mid-90s, late 90s, roughly half the academy in America was to the centre or the right or the centre to the left. That's not true anymore. The long march through the institutions. And my point here is that what they've done to young people is give them a completely distorted view of reality. So they reach out for the very solutions that will make the problems they're worried about worse.
This is what Orwell meant when he said, he who controls the past controls the future.
Yeah.
By rewriting history and destroying people's ability to think about their history in a contextualized way, they've ruined the minds of a lot of 2, maybe 3 generations now. But what you were talking about in terms of the first point you made is, I think, I imagine you'd agree with me, it's weak leadership. We don't have leaders who are prepared to say, I know you don't like hearing this, but it is the truth. And if we do not have leaders who are prepared to do that, we will keep making terrible decisions. Because it's easy, lying and appeasing and pretending and taking the easy route, it's easy. But in the long run, it builds up tremendous costs, and that's what we are now seeing. And we need leaders who are prepared to stand up and say, I know that this is going to hurt now, but we cannot continue to spend our grandchildren's inheritance. We can't do this. It's immoral, among other things. But at the first principle, it's immoral. And secondly, the practical consequences are going to be terrible for everybody. So we need better leaders. We need leadership who, I said this the other day when I was kindly invited to Parliament House. Somebody asked me, leadership. We need leaders, to put it very bluntly, John, to strap on a pair. That's what we need. And by the way, I think this attitude that we've got to pander to the people and tell them only pleasantries that they would like to hear, I think it's incredibly disrespectful to the average person who has a lot more sense than many of the people in the media and in the political class. Most people understand, because they have to run a household and put up with the fact that their resources are limited, that you can't spend money you don't have forever. They understand that if someone says, look, we've had a difficult month this month, I wasn't working quite as much, we haven't made quite as much, we had a household bill come through, whatever. We don't quite have the opportunity to go out for a meal this month or next week or whatever. Most people get this. And if politicians were willing to be honest with the public, I actually think they would get a lot more support than they think they would. I really, really do.
I agree with that. You made a very interesting comment earlier about skepticism being useful in public life, cynicism being corrosive and destructive. And we've made that switch. So we're now openly cynical, and we don't trust anyone and we don't believe anyone because no one's believable,